Rise up, my warrior she, and take your place on your throne.
Due to the graphic content of this film, viewer discretion is advised.
Hey guys, well, I'm at the airport. I'm getting ready to board my plane in about 8 minutes.
Attention passengers.
I know you hear the speakers in the background. Sorry about that. But heading to South Carolina to film this documentary. I'm anxious, excited, nervous, and a little bit more emotions involved. So I am, tomorrow we start production, we start filming. So talk with you guys soon. You brought me out. You love me so.
This is Sumter, South Carolina. Sumter is a city with a rich history. Beginning as a plantation settlement, Sumter got its name from a Revolutionary War general. Today, Sumter is the county seat and home to more than 44,000 people. It has thriving industries and nationally recognized education centers. Sumter, like many small southern cities, is a mix of old and new. The Sumter County Courthouse was built in 1907 and is one of 16 sites in the city listed on the National Register of Historic Places. "20 years after the courthouse, the Swan Lake Iris Gardens were established. What started as a dumping ground for a failed landscaping project is now one of the top botanical gardens in the United States. All 8 swan species and 120 varieties of iris can be found there. This beautiful garden hosts festivals throughout the year. Places of worship still play an important role in Sumter. Salem Missionary Baptist Church, currently led by Pastor Dr. Cartrell Wood, and St. Paul Holiness Church of the Apostolic Faith, under the leadership of Pastor Elder Barrington A. Pearson, are just 2 of several churches supporting the social and spiritual needs of not only African Americans, but the entire community. Sumter High School, one of 3 high schools in the city, may have a relatively new building, but it has a long history. Its roots travel back to the Lincoln Graded School, which was founded for the African American students in 1874. In 2004, Sumter High School was designated the Model School for South Carolina and one of 30 model schools nationwide by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Sumter is also home to Morris College, a historically Black college and university founded in 1908 with the motto, "Enter to learn, depart to serve." The college offers degrees in 20 areas of study. Sumter County Civic Center opened in 1979 with over 21,000 square feet of space for conferences, banquets, entertainment, and athletic events. Sumter Mall opened the next year with over 345,000 square feet of retail space. The mall, paying over $1.3 million annually, is one of the county's largest taxpayers. Sumter was also the home to Rebecca Lynch. While Rebecca's journey is extraordinary, it's much more common than it should be. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. And only 34% of the people who are injured by domestic violence receive medical care. Rebecca tells her story to bring awareness. Awareness is key in changing how we think about domestic violence and our willingness to help. Awareness can save lives. Rebecca's story starts here.
So on 3. 1, 2, 3. So who is Rebecca Lynch?
You asking me who am I?
Yeah. Who's Rebecca Lynch? Tell the camera. Who's Rebecca Lynch?
I am. Start over. I am a mother of 4 beautiful daughters, a grandmother of 12. I am a domestic violence survivor, now a domestic violence advocate. I have a platform that we call WarriorShe. I have a Facebook Live talk show where I have guests that come on and talk about their journeys in domestic violence, surviving breast cancer, life-threatening diseases.
What's the name on the file? Like, and they told me, and they was like, you have ovarian cancer.
The gun in my mouth, and he cocked the gun back, and he told me.
WarriorShe is a domestic violence advocate.
I was born in a little town in South Carolina called Sumter to 2 parents who instilled in all 7 of their children the importance of family and God. We were taught to love people no matter what walks of life that was afforded to them. I was given the opportunity after graduation from high school to go to college, and I did. I went to college, and in my the middle of my second semester of college, I decided to drop out of college and get married. And so I was married at the age of 19 years old and found out I was pregnant shortly afterwards, not knowing that the man that I was married to would become my abuser.
Hi, my name is Amanda Wiley. I'm the Senior Victim Advocate at the Sumter Police Department. I've been around that department now for 11 years. I am not a sworn officer. I'm a civilian employee. And in that role, I assist people in the aftermath of crime. I didn't know what the job entailed until I got into it. And thankfully, I'm really honored to be in the position that I'm in and help people when they need it and support and just be a part of the community.
Hi, my name is Willie McFadden. I'm a detective with Sumter Police Department. I started working in law enforcement in 2005, currently 17 years in law enforcement. I became a police officer speaking with family members and friends that I knew in law enforcement. It kind of got me into the field. And ever since then, I enjoyed working with it and being in the community.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so the law specifies household member, and a household member is a spouse, former spouse, have a child in common, or live together in an intimate relationship. So that's important because if you're a boyfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, and you've never lived together and you don't have children in common, those would be charged as assault and batteries and not domestic violence. And if you wanted to get some type of civil relief, if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, you go to the magistrate's office and do paperwork to get a restraining order. Whereas if it's domestic violence, you go to family court to get an order of protection. So, and one of the other important things is you have to have the ability to do so to carry out the threat. So if your ex-husband calls you from Oklahoma and threatens you and you're here in Sumter, there's not going to be a report for domestic violence. Is it an unhealthy relationship and those dynamics? Absolutely, but the law is very specific in what is domestic violence. And so that's why a lot of times the broader conversation is on like healthy relationships, inter-partner violence, because domestic violence is a limited term, a legal term and a lawful term.
And now I'm married to someone that I'm finding out was not the person that he portrayed to be before the marriage. We were supposed to be getting married July the 7th, and the day after our wedding, we were to be moving to, well, he was going to be moving to Texas because he was supposed to be going full-time in the Army. And he was going to move to Texas first, get things set up, get housing, everything situated for me, and then I will be moving to Texas later. Well, that didn't happen. The day after my wedding, all hell broke loose in my life. I found out that he was not going full-time active duty in the military. So here we are, have no place to live. Neither one of us has a job. He is only in the military National Guard. And we're married. So my mom suggested that we move in with one of my younger sisters, who was there at the time married and expecting her first child. So we moved in with her in this very small trailer that the four of us shared. In that process, when we moved in with her, he did finally get a job at one of the factories in the area. One of his friends helped him to get that job. So we stayed with my sister until I had my first child, until we delivered my first child. In between time, my mom decided that she was going to help me buy a home so that we could have a place to live once the baby was born. And so my mom did. She helped me purchase our very first home, a mobile home, that she put in her name and my name. So after my oldest child was born, I think she probably was maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a week or two old, we moved into our first home. There was no physical anything going on at the time. While I was pregnant with my first child, I started noticing that everything I said to him irritated him. Every conversation we had, he seemed to be angered by it. He just didn't, things seemed to be a little bit different when I was pregnant with my first child. Once we moved into our own home, I think we were in the house probably about maybe a couple of months, and things really started intensifying. It's like if we were having a conversation and I said in the conversation, he said, I thought too much of myself.
Hey babe, how was your day today?
It was all right, but nothing worth talking about. How was your day?
Well, my day was absolutely amazing. I don't know, I just kept getting compliments today. It made me feel so good. I don't know if it's my outfit, I don't know if it's my hair, but babe, so many compliments.
I was thinking too highly of myself.
You think so much
nobody
of yourself.
thinks that much of you.
Bitch, nobody thinks that much of you.
I started getting called all kinds of names. I was
Nobody wants a black, dark-skinned bitch like you.
In the world. I was being called names because of my physical appearance, the color of my skin.
Lucky I want you. Okay?
So it just, the verbal abuse started first. And I endured that probably for about 8 to 10 months before anything physical happened. And so after being in our home probably about 2 months, maybe 3, we were in our own home. We were having an argument one day about something. We seemed to have started to have a lot of arguments about something. I, to this day, don't remember what most of the arguments were about. But we were having an argument about something. At the time, he was drinking a lot, beer, smoking marijuana. But this particular day, my daughter was in the room in her crib sleep. We were having an argument about something. I was standing in my kitchen, getting ready to prepare dinner, and we were arguing. And I went to walk away to the refrigerator to get something out of the refrigerator. And as I'm walking towards the refrigerator, he's coming towards me in the kitchen, but out of the blue, as we're arguing, he just clotheslined around my neck. And I fell straight to the back on my head and my back. And when I fell, he was standing over me, yelling and cursing and calling me names. And then all of a sudden, he just walked out of the house. Stormed out of the house and slammed the door. I was stunned and confused. And I'm laying there for what seemed like eternity, but I know it was probably just some seconds. And I'm crying. That's when the physical abuse started. With my first child, before we moved into our home, I am about 2 weeks from giving birth. And I'm doing my weekly visits to the doctor. This particular visit, he decided that he was not going to take me to the doctor. He needed to use the car. He was tired. He wasn't going to go. So I asked my dad if he could, take me to the doctor because I'm 2 weeks from giving birth. So my dad takes me to my doctor's appointment, and I'm in the back. I'm getting checked, and the doctor leaves out of the room. And some minutes later, he comes back in, and he says, I have some good news, I have some bad news. The good news is that the baby is well. You're on track. You'll be delivering any day now. The bad news is you have trichomonia. And I'm sitting there like, what is trichomonia? And he said to me, it's an STD. And I'm looking like, what?
Hello, my name is Patricia Cummings, registered nurse, MSN, and I'm also known as Nurse Patricia. I'm a thought leader and a subject matter expert on various healthcare topics. And today, I would like to talk with you about trichomoniasis. Now, what is trichomoniasis? You probably ask yourself. It is a sexually transmitted disease that is very common worldwide. As a matter of fact, trichomoniasis, or trick as it's called, that's TRICH, not TRICK, is the most prevalent non-viral STD. What does that mean by non-viral? Well, you may have heard of chlamydia, you may have heard of gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV. Those STDs are caused by viruses. Trichomoniasis, on the other hand, is caused by a parasite, and that parasite is transmitted through sexual activity. And that could be vaginally, which is most common, or sometimes orally or anally. Unfortunately, women are the most impacted by trichomoniasis. The prevalence of trichomoniasis in women is 2.1% versus 0.5% in men. Now, one of the things that is most concerning about trichomoniasis from a public health standpoint is the fact that this STD goes undetected in most cases. Yes, most people who have trichomoniasis are often asymptomatic. That means they show no signs or indication that they have the disease. As a matter of fact, about 30% of people with trichomoniasis show symptoms, whereas 70% are able to mask it or hide it, and so it is easily transmitted as a result. Now, I want to share with you the symptoms that women experience and the symptoms that men experience when they have trichomoniasis. But before I do that, let me share about those who are at highest risk for contracting this disease. Well, people who are sexually active without using protection, like a condom, during their activities are at highest risk. Additionally, persons with multiple sexual partners are at risk for contracting trichomoniasis. And finally, people who have had a prior STD infection, whether it's HIV or syphilis, are at higher risk for contracting trichomoniasis simply because their immune systems are already compromised, and so it predisposes them for contracting not just trichomoniasis, but all other STDs. Now, the symptoms that women exhibit, and remember I said that 30% of people only show symptoms. But when they do, for women, what women will see is a thin, foul-smelling vaginal discharge that could be white or gray or green in color. The woman may also experience burning in the pelvic area when they urinate or pain during sex. Men, they have similar symptoms. They may also have a discharge that is foul smelling from the penis, or they may have burning during urination. How is trichomoniasis diagnosed? Well, the person who suspects that they may have trichomoniasis would go to their doctor, and a swab would be done of the vagina in the women. And if it's a man, a swab of the penis discharge would be done, and that is sent to a lab, and that is how trichomoniasis is diagnosed. It is most commonly treated with antibiotics, and the main one is Flagyl. Okay, now specific to women who are pregnant, they are at risk for having a baby born prematurely, so the baby could be born very soon, sooner than expected. They may also have a baby born with very low birth weight, and then finally that baby could also be born with the actual infection of trichomoniasis. So pregnant women, if they suspect that they have trichomoniasis, should really speak with their obstetrician about their symptoms and possibly getting help and treatment so that the disease does not pass on to their child. Another key factor or piece of information about trichomoniasis is that there are studies that show there is a strong link between people who have trichomoniasis and the prevalence of cervical or prostate cancer. So that means someone who contracts trichomoniasis is at risk for developing either cervical in a female or prostate in a male cancer somewhere later down the line. Another risk factor associated with trichomoniasis infection is contracting other sexually transmitted diseases. So you may not have heard of this disease before, but it is very common and it is very prevalent, as I mentioned in the beginning of this documentary. Now, It is important that if anyone suspects that they have contracted this sexually transmitted disease, that you contact your doctor and you contact and notify your partner or partners as well. It is important that you're transparent so that everyone involved can receive treatment. And studies show that in cases where trichomoniasis is contracted, when all partners involved or parties involved seek treatment, the outcome is better for everyone. Now, I know this is a lot of information, but I trust that you have learned something. And just understand that trichomoniasis is a real disease. And as I mentioned, it is concerning because oftentimes there are no symptoms that are shown. I ask that if you have any questions about anything that I have said or other questions, please feel free to reach me at nursepatricia.com. That is my website. And on my website, you will find information on how to contact me directly through email or through my phone. Thank you so much again for joining me. I'm Nurse Patricia Cummings, and I will leave by saying this. Nurse Patricia says, a healthier you starts with a healthier mindset. Thank you so much, and have a blessed one.
And he said, it's a STD. So it was transmitted to you through sex. And he said, because your baby is due to be delivered any day now, we're going to have to send you to DHEC to get penicillin shot. Because if your baby is born through the birth canal with this STD, she could be born with deformities, or even it could cause death. All right, we went straight to DHEC. They called me in the back, and I was told I needed a shot, a penicillin shot in each hip. So I got 2 penicillin shots that day in DHEC. I'm laying there on the table as they're preparing to give me these shots, and I am embarrassed, I am humiliated, I am stunned, and I'm crying my eyes out because these people are reading my records and they know I have an STD. When I approached my then husband about it and told him what the doctors said, what they found, and that I had to just receive 2 penicillin shots, he went into a rage. He yelling, cursing. I didn't get it from him. He doesn't know where I got it from. And finally, after about 2 or 3 days of him denying that he had contracted trichomonia from a woman that he was sleeping with, finally he acknowledged it. But he still didn't see anything wrong with it because you got the shot, which I did. And 2 weeks later, my baby was born. Thankfully, she was born healthy, with no problems at all. And 3 months after delivering my first baby, we're now in our home, our own home, and I found out that I'm pregnant again. With this pregnancy, the arguments really intensified. I mean, absolutely nothing I did was okay. Nothing. I am being called almost every day, every foul name in the book. As long as I was at his mom's house, around his mom, he was fine. If I'm at my mother's house, there's a problem, we're arguing, we're fighting. So now here I am pregnant again with a 3-month-old daughter and pregnant with my second daughter. So I find out about 3 months later, again, I have chikungunya again. This time they caught it early, and I was and able to, they prescribed me a pill, some pills to take. This time I didn't have to do penicillin shots. Once again, he denied it. He denied that he gave me a STD. So I took the pills, penicillin pills. They said it cleared up. But during the course of this pregnancy, I had lots of yeast infections. And so I had to take antibiotics several times during this pregnancy to clear up yeast infections. So things are really bad now. We are really arguing. Nothing is good. Nothing is good at home at all. Conversations are terrible. So here I am with my second pregnancy. I'm in my 8th month of pregnancy. And I'm in one of my bedrooms one day, and he comes home. He was working day shift. He comes home from work, and he starts this argument. And I'm like 8 months pregnant. I mean, I'm huge. I have no clue what we were arguing about. I don't remember pretty much what any of the arguments were about. It was just about everything. Nothing was okay. And I'm in my room, in the bedroom, and he comes in and he starts this huge argument. So we get into an argument, and I'm sitting on the bed.
This is why I get so mad.
And I had this, back in the day, they had these piggy banks, these plastic piggy banks. So I had one about this big, and it was half full of coins that I was saving for my daughter. And in the midst of our argument, he picks up this piggy bank from the dresser and he smashes it.
But you make me so angry.
Blood started gushing out everywhere. All on my clothes. I mean, blood was everywhere. And I'm sitting there and I'm like,
you don't want to get me so fucking angry. If you just fucking do the shit like you're supposed to and stop being a bitch. You
and
dark
all
black
I
ass
could
bitch. All you
do
got to fucking
was cry. I couldn't even move.
house and cook. That's all you got to fucking do.
Literally, I couldn't move. And he turned away, cursing, raving, raising hell. He turned away and walked out of the house. And he left. So I'm crying. I finally pulled myself together. I got up and got my daughter out of the crib. And I was driving my mom's then station wagon because he had, by this time, he had, the car that we had wasn't working. So my mom let me keep her station wagon for transportation. So I get my daughter out of her crib and we put her into the station wagon, put her in the car seat. At this time, my aunt was living around the corner from me, one of my aunties, and I didn't want to go to my mom because at this time, nobody in my family knows what is going on.
It could be, I think it could be a few different reasons. Some could be financial, reasons why they stay silent. Some could be that they just scared, that of the backlash that will come after the fact. It could be just a few different reasons why they would stay silent instead of, or they don't want nobody to know. They could feeling embarrassed. It's just it's dependent on the situation and the person, you know, what their, you know, background and what's been going on with their relationship.
Staying silent most of the time, that's dealing with, like, you know, shame, or you just think like this is the way it's supposed to be. One of the things I enjoy most, particularly about working with Detective McFadden, is he will, if a victim says, I don't want to press charges, he'll look back at
The history,
right,
the criminal history, the call history, that's everything in general. If it's especially if it's to the point where it's escalating and it's just like getting worse and worse every time, even though you tell me you don't want to press charges, we'll automatically pick them up. We're not gonna wait for you to, we don't want something bad to happen. We don't want you to get hurt, your kids to get hurt, or, you know, him to get hurt. Whatever the situation is, could be either party. So we're not gonna just wait and sit there and just be like, no, we ain't gonna do nothing just because you don't want to do nothing. We're gonna automatically pick it up.
yeah, and that takes I think the term is like the onus of responsibility off of the victim. You may have seen your mother or other family members, and a lot of times culture says, you know, what happens in the house stays in the house. You don't air your dirty laundry. You just don't do that. You deal with it. There may be religious reasons. You know, I went to my pastor said, you need to stay. You know, the Bible says whatever. And as far as like pressing charges, a lot of people don't because they just want the violence to stop. Our feelings aren't emotions that we just click on and off. You know, so you are connected to this person. When we love someone, I tell victims all the time, when you love someone, you believe in the best in them. And a lot of times things have to be really like in your face for you to see it differently, because you don't want to believe that this person could just not value you that much. Like that can't be true.
On Wednesday, April 25th of 2018, Lois Smith, known as Mimi to her friends, was found murdered in her home. Lois's family had been worried because they hadn't spoken to her, and a friend went to check on her. Lois was found dead with multiple gunshot wounds. Her 2-year-old son was found unharmed in the apartment with her body. His father, 50-year-old Alonzo Shaw, was arrested and charged with murder, unlawful neglect of a child, and possession of a weapon during a violent crime.
3, 1, 2, oh, you're looking into the hands. 1, 2.
Hi, my name is Marcella Johnson. I am the mother of Lois Mimi Smith, who was murdered by her baby daddy boyfriend on April 25th, 2018. As a mother, you would never imagine losing a child to domestic violence. You see it, but it didn't happen to you. And when it does, it changed your whole life. Your whole world is turned upside down. And to see other mothers lose their children, I used to sit down and weep with these mothers. But when it happened to me, it was a whole different picture. It's like losing part of yourself. And you would never think that you would outlive your children. And just to know that she's not here, it's like living in a dream. And you asking God to wake you up from this dream. No, because she was the type of individual, she could take care of herself, defend for herself. But there were signs, but it was too late to realize what was really going on. And during that time, there were signs when she was like hurting herself. she was in an apartment that she was there before she even met him, and then you started having an accident of having a sprained ankle. And I thought, you know, maybe she did miss a step. Or they will argue and she will call me upset, saying that this man is controlling. I said, he can't be that controlling. But it's like he painted a total different picture. That day, I got up, took a shower, and my daughter Bree, we had all just got on a plan at Boost Mobile. She came, we went there and got a phone. She said, Mama, I can't contact you, you don't have a phone. I'm gonna help you get a phone. So we all got on the Boost Mobile plan. He also got on the plan too. She got him a phone. And it was time for the bill to due, so we gave her the money since she had just purchased a car. And Bree came down that Wednesday morning and said, Mama, you know our phone cut off? I said, really? She said, I gave Mimi the money. And she said, I called her on her cell phone and it jumped straight to voicemail. She said, I called the house phone, it just rang. I said, well, that's not like her. So she was supposed to go to work that following Tuesday and that Wednesday, and she never showed up. So we kept calling, the same thing keep happening. So with our phone channel, we could accept calls, but we couldn't do any outgoing calls. So what happened was, we finally reached him, and he said, we asked him, where was Mimi? He said, I don't know, we had a fight and she locked me out of the house and took my key. Him thinking, okay, they at it again. So what happened was, I said, well, where is the baby? Because we had just found out that she was on the borderline of having high blood pressure. Him thinking she probably had a heart attack or a stroke or something, you know, something else must have happened. And I said, where's the baby? I don't know. And I'm like, where's her car? Park outside. He said, well, I'm gonna go to the daycare and see if she dropped the baby off. 5 minutes passed and he called back. I'm not thinking at that point, that was too fast, because if he don't have the key to the car, it takes them more than 5 minutes to go to the Head Start program, the daycare, and come back. So as time passes, I'm like, and we both calling each other. He calling me, I'm calling him, and I kept calling her cell phone. It jumped straight to voicemail. And I called the house phone, and I let it ring 20 times, and nobody would answer. I said, something is not right. And so what happened was, we kept calling each other, and I'm like, around about 3:30, he said, well, I'm going to the library and rest my legs. I said, well, you know, I try to get in the house. I can't get in the house because both of the doors are locked. So after I hung up from him, I got the most nauseous feeling in my stomach. And it was like something just bind my intestine together, and I wanted to vomit.
Sure. I am Shannon Myers. I'm the director of the Domestic Violence Program for Probation and Parole, and I've been with the department for 15 years.
Yes, I'm Sharon Holland. I'm with Probation and Parole, of course, but I'm a program manager. Just my programs of area programs are public service employment, DNA testing, and live scan, which is our fingerprinting system. And I've been with the agency 28, it'll be 29 years in about 7 days.
Currently, the state of South Carolina ranks number 6 for men murdering women with weapons in the United States. We're number 6.
Number 6.
We have, when we first started our program, we ranked number 1, and we were also number 2. And eventually we did rank number 7. We got a little better in what we were doing. We moved to number 11, and we are unfortunately back at number 6. So there's still a lot of work to do in the state of South Carolina when it comes to domestic violence. I think that there are several things that contribute to where we are as a nation. I believe that we are making headway slowly. But one of the things I think in the last 2 years plus, we've dealt with COVID. Our convictions, our domestic violence issues are household issues. And so while people were not working, people were at home, it honestly is like they were stuck. That raised a lot of concerns for us as a domestic violence program while COVID was still apparent. I think that there is still a lack of accountability in where we are trying to go with domestic violence. Our domestic violence offenders are characteristically extremely manipulative, and we have to hold offenders accountable daily for actions, for following conditions of supervision, for following the laws. And overall, I think we just need to do a better job of educating the public and the community on domestic violence awareness. I think that we do a good job, but I think we could always do better.
I said, something is not right. Something is not right. I kept calling, and so a lady friend of mine came, and I was telling her about the situation. I didn't have a car or nothing. We didn't have a car, and I couldn't, get there. So she said, "Would you like me to take you to your daughter's house?" Yes, yeah. I said yes, because I'm kind of worried about my daughter and the baby. I haven't heard from neither one of them. I said, I kept on Facebook because she always posts on Facebook, and she never posted anything. I said, something is not right. And so when she took me there to Friendship, when we got to the first trash can, all I saw was a yellow tape connect from one trash can to the next. And I saw all these people. And when we went to turn the curve, that's when I saw all these lights, all these blue lights, police department, the fire department. And I got this wrenching, my stomach just dropped. And she was driving, it seemed like everything was in slow motion. And next thing I realized, I had my hand on the door of the car. And I kept looking and searching for her and the baby. When I saw the young lady that standing there that I was familiar with, I saw the baby, but I didn't see Mimi. And I got in the car. I said, "Where's Mimi?" I said, "Nay, where's Mimi?" She kept saying, I said, "Nay, where's my baby?" She said, "Mama, I am so sorry." She said, "Mama, the blood." I said, "What you mean, the blood?" She said, "Mama, when I got to the stairs, it was covered in blood." And she said, "Mama, I'm so sorry." So Mimi is gone. I said, "No, it can't be." So I went to take her and start running. And they tried to, I said, "No, she needs me." I said, "Y'all don't understand, that's my baby. That's my baby." And during that time when they was holding me, I was thinking, oh my God, I don't have 5 kids anymore, I have 4. And the baby don't have his mother. Who found her? The girl Nay that she picked up that was supposed to spend the night at her house. And Mimi was supposed to go back and pick her up. And she said, Mimi never showed up that Tuesday night. And she said she had an acquaintance, a friend of theirs, to drop her off. And she told him to wait, and she banged on the door. Nobody came. And so I asked her, where was the car? And she said, park right there. So I'm assuming it happened before Wednesday. Because I had talked to her 6:08 that Tuesday night, because she was on her way to the daycare to pick the baby up. But by the time she got there, he had already got the baby. And she called me, she said, Mama, you know them people gave him my baby and he's intoxicated? So she drove around and me and her was on the phone. And she said, Mama, I'm gonna ride around until I find them. So I heard her, she was blowing the horn. I said, baby, what it is? She said, Mama, I found them. She said, he got my baby walking in the middle of the street, way up ahead of him. So when she finally got out, she said, hey, Mama, stink a bud. She said, come here. She said, I'm gonna strap him in, Mama. I said, okay, go strap him in. So she said, Zoe, get in the car. He said, no. She said, Zoe, get in the car. He said, no. So she said, Mama, I'll call you back. Right about 10 something, I waited, about 10:28 that night. So clear, and I'm like, she didn't call me back. I thought maybe she, went to bed because she got to get up early in the morning to go to work. Never called. And when we got there and we found out that what he did, my instinct was she was gone that night. She just got found that Wednesday by a friend of the family. And the young lady who found her, she was so messed up. She said the baby was hungry, wet up. Said he was in a frantic stage. I guess from them banging on the door and nobody could answer, and it frightened him.
When she found her, it was just her and the baby.
Her and the baby. They were left, I don't know how many hours in an apartment.
Did they tell you how she died?
The gun he stole from his uncle, when she was about to pick the young lady up next, and she was about to go downstairs, he pulled a gun and shot her in the back of the head and it exited from the front. Then the people say they heard when she hollered, say, somebody help me. Nobody help. He shot again. Shot again in the face. She was fighting for her life. That wasn't good enough. Then he shot again. At the top of the stairs. And where she was staying at, both of the bedrooms is upstairs. For him to go in and out, he had to cross over her body. With no remorse. He stayed in the house with her, with the body. And Lana said he couldn't get in. There were evidence he was going through the back door, getting rid of evidence. So during that whole time we was talking, he had already shot her and killed her. Then he continued when we had to go to the police department and give our statement. And as soon as I signed the papers and gave my statement, he called me on my cell phone. Y'all find out anything yet? So I told him, hey, this is it. She said, put him on speakerphone. Y'all find out anything yet? I said, no. I said, where are you? I'm walking to work. They said, ask him, do you want him to come pick you up? So, you may come and get you and take you to work? Yeah. I said, where you at? Subway on 15. And all I heard when the detective told the police where he was, like horse trampling. I mean, they were going to get him. They were going to get him. They caught him going in the building at his job, get ready to clock in and go to work. And the whole time I was sitting there wondering, how can I tell my children that one of their siblings are gone? That ran through my mind so much, and all I could do was look at that baby and just hold him. He don't know what's going on, but he was traumatized. When he got here, when they dropped us off, it was like 12:30 that night. I didn't have Pampers. He didn't have no shoes, no socks. All he had on was a white t-shirt and a pamper. So what the police department did is took my daughter Bree to buy him some stuff from Walmart. And that night, he didn't sleep at all. He did not sleep at all. He was so traumatized from hearing that gunshot. Because when you come downstairs, you can actually hear somebody come downstairs. And I had my chair that way. So whoever came this way, he would just walk around a little bit. And so the first noise he heard, he came to me running and clenched my shirt and hold me so tight. I said, baby, it's okay. It's okay. And then he will look back to see who it was. I said, baby, it's okay. He would not sleep. And so around about 6:45 that morning, my daughter finally came and said, Mom, he finally went to sleep. So you're raising the baby now? Yeah. That's all I got for you.
Is there still any trauma with him from that tragedy?
It was. It was. First 30 nights, 31 for a whole month. He woke up screaming and was still asleep. Still asleep, screaming, fighting in his sleep. And I said, baby, all I could do was hold him on the side of my bed, just hold him and cry. That's all I could do. That's all I could do. I let my kids go in. I let my girls go in. Because I wanted him to see the expression and the agony they were going through. He stood there with no remorse, none whatsoever. None. And I told my son had wanted to give. I said, no, baby, put it in God's hand. That's because where he at, he gonna suffer. He gonna really suffer. Because the only thing my daughter wanted from him is to take care of that baby and for him to love her.
Nobody knows of the verbal abuse, the physical abuse. Nobody knows. I didn't want to tell anybody. I was embarrassed. I was scared. I felt like I put myself in this position, so I didn't tell anybody. But this particular day, I got in the car with my baby and I drove around the corner to my auntie's house. And I just parked the car on the street in front of her house, and I just sat in the car crying. I didn't get out. I didn't say anything. I just sat there crying, and I might have been outside.
Get everything that I can do.
I don't know.
You just keep hurting me.
10, 15 minutes. I'm not sure how long. But finally, my auntie was a seamstress, and she had a customer inside. And finally, I see her door open, her front door open. She comes out to the porch with her customer, and she looks over and she sees my mom's car parked there. So she tells the customer that she needed to leave because she needed to go find out what's going on. So she comes out to the car, and I'm sitting there crying, and she asks, what's wrong? And I hesitated in telling her, but she insisted, you're going to tell me what's going on. So I told her what had happened. So she pushed me over, told me to get over to the passenger seat, and she got in the driver's seat. And we drove a couple of blocks to my mother's florist shop where my mother was. We got out of the car. I have blood all on my clothes from when he smashed the piggy bank in my face. I got my baby out of the car. My aunt, she grabbed my hand and we go inside. And she tell my mom what was going on, what had happened. I take that back. I think by this time my mother had gotten wind of it. I think my mother and my father had gotten wind. I don't think, I'm almost positive. They had gotten wind of it because one of my mother's church members that sang on her choir, she was my neighbor, and she would hear all of the arguments. She would hear me crying. She would hear the fights. By this time, she had gone to my mom's florist shop some months before and told my mother that this man was beating on me. I did deny it. When my mom came to my house and asked me, I told her no. I was not, I wasn't going through that. But this particular day, I couldn't hide it. My aunt took me there. I got blood everywhere. I'm crying. So I had to come clean. I had to tell her the truth. So my mom and my aunt was furious. My aunt got in her car, my mom's car. She driving around town looking for him. So my mom gets on the phone and she calls his mother and tells his mother that he's been putting his hands on me. And his mom says to her with a boldness, well, Helen, every woman has to take a beating sometime. My mother exploded. My mother she just exploded on the phone. Because his mom had been in that situation, so she felt like it was okay that he was putting his hands on me. So my auntie did find him. And she approached him. That didn't go well. For him, it didn't. But that was the day that my aunt and my mother literally became my advocates.
And now I see why you said your mother is like your hero, you know, because she did help you.
Oh, she fought.
Yeah. She fought for you when you couldn't fight.
Her and when she called me that day on the phone and said, "Stop eating anything cook you." And I was like, "What am I?" She said, "Don't eat nothing else." She sent me to the house. And I said, "Mom, why?" And I didn't say it like this on the thing. She said, "I think she's trying to poison you." No, she said she's trying to put root on you. Through her food.
Which way should we go?
That right.
Okay.
And
but did you feel something different, like after you stopped eating
up until that point, I was like I said yesterday, all I could do is cry. I couldn't fight back. I felt weak. I didn't have the strength. I couldn't even argue back like I should to defend myself verbally. I just felt like I felt like he just had control. I was like numb. I was just like cry all the time, just cry. And when she called and told me that, I'm like, why would she call me with that? But I did it. You know, matter of fact, that same day, that evening, she sent a plate to the house.
Oh, wow.
And I wouldn't eat it. So I stopped eating. And I didn't, you know, Mama just said, I think she's trying to work root on you. And she did believe in that. She did believe in it. And I said, okay. And all I said was, okay, Mom. And I stopped eating. Yeah. And then it seems like within a week's time, he came into the house, want to argue, and I was arguing back. I had strength. I was arguing, and it just seemed like now I can fight. I can fight him back. This is it right here.
Oh, right here. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Mommy and them back here. Grandma, Auntie, Holman, they right over there.
Wow.
Yep, they right there.
I keep going back.
Huh?
I keep going around.
Yeah,
Oh,
we go back to Mommy first, and then we come back over to Auntie. But they right there. Mommy and Daddy. Rabbit husband. I think it's that section right there. Which is this? This is Veteran Field. Turn right here. I think Mommy and them up in here somewhere. It's just been this past Monday, maybe 6 years Mama's been gone. We don't have Daddy's departure date on here yet. Yeah. Daddy left July 30th, 2020. They don't have it on here yet. That's my mommy and my daddy. Still very sad. But I'm accepting what God has allowed. I just always saw my mom as Superwoman. I saw her as this giant, you know. As this, she to me, she was this she-warrior. She was this this giant of a woman that, in my mind, that will be here forever. Which I know might sound crazy. You know what I mean? I know it may sound crazy, but to me, I just always thought my mom and my auntie were two women in my lives that I just thought would always be here. You know? when they were here, I felt like a safety net, like strong, like, cause they had your back. If nobody else had your back, mommy and auntie gonna fight for you. They got your back. So, and now both of them are gone. Mommy's gone, auntie's gone, and now daddy. And when I saw daddy laying in the casket, if I just kept feeling on him because I couldn't find him. Because for me, daddy was the strong being, I think I've only seen my dad cry maybe twice. And one of those times was when mommy died. So it's like, when I saw him in his casket, I was trying to find him because he was always this huge, bigger than life kind of guy. And now he's laying there looking helpless and like this small person. It just still seems unreal to me. I'm just trying to still wrap my mind around it all. That I'm coming out here to say hi to my mommy and daddy. It's weird. Thank you, mommy. Thank you for fighting for me. I just always saw my mom as Superwoman. I saw her as this giant, as this, she to me, she was this she warrior. She was this giant of a woman. That in my mind, that will be here forever, which I know might sound crazy. You know what I mean? I know it may sound crazy, but to me, I just always thought my mom always be here. So the doctor tells me that, okay, you're a little bit over 2 weeks due, so we're going to go ahead and induce your labor tomorrow morning. So we need you at the hospital by 7 a.m. So we can get you prepped, get you admitted, and we're going to induce your labor and deliver the baby tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, I'm excited because I am a little over 2 weeks due. So I go back to his mother's house, which is where he was. So he was in his old bedroom at his mother's house, sleep. So I go into the house. He wakes up, and I proceed to tell him, the report from the doctor. I have to be at the hospital in the morning at 7. They're going to induce my labor to have the baby. He went into a complete rage. He got up off the bed and started cursing and yelling, and he's not going to no hospital in the morning at 7. That's too early in the morning. You better call them and tell them to change the time or change the date or something, because I'm not going to no hospital at 7 in the morning. And I'm looking at him like, I can't tell them to change the time or the date. She's already 2 weeks overdue. I got to be there in the morning. And he went into even greater rage. He started shoving me, slinging me around on the bed. I tried to get up. By this time, I'm crying. And I'm asking him to leave me alone, let me get out. He wouldn't let me out the room, pinned me up against the wall, He didn't punch me or anything. He was just shoving me around and yelling and pushing me on the bed. And finally, after what felt like forever, he decided, he was so angry, and after calling me all kind of B's and stupid and ignorant and all of this kind of stuff, he finally decided to let me pass. So I walk out of the bedroom, and in his mom's house, his living room and dining room are kind of connected. It was a very small house. So I walk into the living room, and she's sitting there in the dining room, in her kitchen area, on the counter with her arm like this, smiling.
So in my experience, there's two types. You have some people who just don't get along. They have these volatile, dysfunctional relationships. They resolve conflict by pushing, shoving. A lot of times with younger people, they kind of think that's normal. You know, if you're not dramatic, it's not a good relationship. And then sometimes it escalates, and you have like a huge event, and people get hurt. Now, when you talk about like the cycle of domestic violence, you're looking at coercive behavior, power and control. You know, having an anger issue is one thing, but domestic violence, it's not about anger, it's about power, control, and manipulation, using children as pawns, as threats, isolating you from your family, lowering your self-esteem like repeatedly to where you think this is your only option and you have to stay. Emotional things, because we often talk about, and mostly talk about, female victims. They're males who are abused also. It looks a little different. You know, it may not be the physical assault, but the other types of like just threats and controlling behaviors. So a lot of times there are children involved, and people really are trying to make the best decision, you know, what's going to be best for them. But over the years, what we find is, one, the cycle of violence is a honeymoon phase, tension builds, eruption of violence, calming down. When someone remains in that cycle, it goes quicker and quicker to where it's almost not even like honeymoon. Like that calming down and the honeymoon maybe like a day and a half, you know, as opposed to like weeks, and then like there's stressors and tension, and then you have that. So it varies, and a lot of times by the end of it, a victim may just feel stuck. You know, they've been isolated from their family, or they've cut their family off. Say, I left you for the night, I stayed 2 weeks, I went back. This keeps going on. Your family is just kind of like, I'm not dealing with you anymore. So you really don't have any options. And when you bring children into play, for a woman, she may not have worked for 10 years. You know, she has 6 children, all under the age of like 10, 16. And someone saying, well, you just need to leave and go where?
He must have told his mom that, you know, the food that she was sending there for me was getting thrown away because I wasn't eating it anymore. So probably about a couple of weeks after that, his mom shows up to my house. His sister brought her to my house, and she walked in and she wanted to know, why is it that I'm not eating her food? And I told her, because I just don't want it anymore. And she started going off because she's mad that I don't want to eat her food. So I literally had to put his mom out of my house that day. But it seemed like after I stopped eating her food, I started getting courage and strength to somehow try to defend myself. I he would be arguing and cursing, and even when it got physical a couple of times, I didn't feel as weak. I felt like I was getting my strength back. I could fight back. And after that incident happened, I said, I gotta free myself from this. I gotta get out of this. So a couple of days later, I went, someone gave me a name of this attorney, attorney Jordan White. They said, call him. He's a really good divorce lawyer, and he specializes in cases like yours where have gone through abuse from your husband. So I called his office, made an appointment, went in, told him everything that had been going on over the course of that 3+ years, and he took my case. And not only did he take the case, he took it pro bono. So he got the divorce papers drawn up and must have had them served to my ex. So my daughter and I, my two daughters and I, are in the laundromat one day, and this was probably about 5-6 months after the incident with him being homesick. We're in the laundry room, and I had not heard from him probably in about 4 months. And all of a sudden, I see his car pulls up at the laundromat. He walks into the laundromat. He didn't say anything to me. He doesn't say anything to the girls. He walked straight to the back of the laundromat and sat on a table. And the whole time he just stared at me. He had a look in his eyes like pure evil. I mean, he just stood there the whole time staring. And I'm saying to myself, he's gonna try something crazy. I know he is. He must have got served those divorce papers, because he's gonna try something real crazy. So I just kind of rushed up. The clothes were washed. I was folding the clothes, so I kind of rushed it up and got all the clothes folded and grabbed the girls, and we took the stuff to the car and got in the car and we left. I lived around the corner from there with one of my sisters, and probably within an hour, he shows up. One of my brothers, Bobby, was in town had just gotten home the day before. He was visiting from out west. Nobody knew he was in town. So he was at my house with me and my sister when my ex shows up. And so I'm in the back. I have on my pajamas with my gown. The girls had just laid down to go to sleep. And my sister yells back and says, that nut is outside. And I'm like, who? So she says, your husband. So I go to the front door, and she said, Rebecca, don't go outside. She said, don't go out there with that man. And I'm like, I go to the door and I'm like, what do you want? And then he said, I need to talk to you a minute about my daughters. So I'm like, okay, let me talk to him so he can leave me alone. So my brother is like, I'm going to stand behind the door and I'm going to watch from the window just in case he tries something. So I walks outside to his car. He opens up the passenger door, and I'm like, what do you want? And he said, just sit down on the seat for a minute, please. I need to talk to you about the girls. Reluctantly, I did. I left the door, passenger door, wide open. I sat on the passenger seat and I turned my body halfway out the car, where half of my body was hanging out of the car. And I just said to him, what do you want? And before I could get that completely out of my mouth, he grabbed me around my neck with one arm and pulled me to the steering wheel, and he sped off in the car. And I just started screaming. And my brother Bobby dashed outside the door. He jumped like 8 steps from the front porch and he ran the car down. He literally caught the car about halfway down the street with half of my body hanging out of the car. My brother ran the car down, grabbed the door of the car, and then my ex just stopped abruptly. He just stopped in the middle of the street. My brother grabbed my arm and said, get out of the car and go in the house. And I heard my brother telling him, if you ever touch my sister again, I'll kill you. And sometimes I wonder what would have happened to me that day if my brother was not there to intervene and to stop that car. I often wonder. About 5 years later, I moved away from South Carolina and I moved to Maryland. I went through verbal abuse and attacks for about the next 10 years from his mom and for him. You know, I fought myself for a lot of that because I wanted to, even though what I went through with him and what he did to me, I didn't want to keep my daughters away from him. I didn't want my daughters to grow up and say, well, you kept my dad away from us. It's your fault we don't know our dad. So I did everything I could do as far as letting him know where we were, giving him phone numbers so that he would be able to stay in contact with my daughters. But doing that, I continued to endure the verbal abuse even years after the divorce. It's been many, many years now since I've been out of that journey. Many years, and for a long time after my journey, after coming out of that journey, I was angry. I was angry, I was mad, I was sometimes depressed for a lot of years after. It wasn't until I was talking with this young lady and she said to me, she had been through similar of what I was going through, what I had been through, and she and I were talking one day. I met her at work and she told me it had a name called domestic violence. And she said that the hardest thing for her was forgiving her abuser. But she said that was the only way she was able to move on, was to forgive him. And I just started praying, you know, God, give me strength to be able to forgive this man. I gotta let go. I gotta live. I wanna be free of all of this. And to finally one day, I just got free. I was like, I forgive him. And I didn't only say it, but I felt the freedom of it. Forgiving him, forgiving his mom, forgiving his sister, forgiving all of them for the trauma and the pain that they put me through. And I got free. Forgiving him was my freedom. And I let it go. And over the years, probably about 10 years ago, maybe 9 or 10 years ago, 8, 9 years ago, I'm on social media, and God just led me to tell a piece of my journey, one little piece of what I had been through in domestic violence. And I went on Facebook and I made this post about some of what an incident that I had been through. And a lot of women started chiming in that they too were survivors of domestic violence. And from that post, about 6, 7 years later, WarriorShe was birthed. So now we have this WarriorShe platform where we allow women to come on, tell their journeys of surviving life life-threatening illnesses, domestic violence, scleroderma, breast cancer, bone cancer, of all walks of life. They come on and tell their journeys on my show. And this platform is to hopefully encourage someone else to live. They can look at me and say, she made it, she got out, and I can. That's what we're here for.
Good. Amazing.
Why y'all let me talk?
If you are living in domestic violence, don't be ashamed to tell nobody. Because if you bring it out, there's somebody willing to help you. It's better than you telling someone and trying to make that step. You make one step, God will make two. It's better for you to come out alive than to come out dead. And when children is involved, don't be selfish. Think of your children. Because your children need you. Your children should be your main priority. Don't do it for love. Because if he loves you, he won't abuse you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us come in here today. Thank you for telling the journey. Thank you for being the strong, resilient woman that I'm sitting here looking at right now. I appreciate you. And I know this had to be probably one of the hardest things you've had to do, is to sit here today and tell this. But I appreciate you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you for doing such an amazing, beautiful job bringing domestic violence to where it needs to be.
How would someone be able to reach victim services if they need help, they're in trouble?
So I know on the police department website, there's a contact there, like email contact, and the person who looks at those will forward emails to me. Maybe someone just wants information, stuff like that. You can always come to the department, ask to speak to a victim's advocate. I have an email, I have a phone number. My office number is 803-436-2780, and my email is awiley@sumtersc.gov.
Thank you guys. This has been very, very informative, and even for me. So I thank you all for your time. I thank y'all for letting me come here today. I appreciate you.
We appreciate you and everything that you do. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to say to both of you, thank you all. Thank you.
Especially Sharon.
You too, both of you. Thank you all for agreeing to let us come in and sit with you today. I was educated. I was educated. I got a lot of good information from you all. And I think this is the beginning of us working together, trying to get some things done. So I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
That was amazing.
Yes,
amazing. Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, y'all, my phone was
Thank you.
buzzing the
It's
entire
okay.
time.
You know what? Didn't even hear it. I must have
Oh,
been
good. I felt it then.
Contemplating and hesitation makes life seem so hard. Looking from where I'm standing, my breakthrough seems afar. But I can remember my mama said
your both hands on your chin, though.
to make
Yes.
it all the way.
Look up to God. Yes.
Hills, valleys, and mountains can't stand in my way. Friends will come and they may go.
They fought for them. Them two women stood up in a man's face and went up against a man for me. And you don't have men that do that kind of stuff. And my mom and my auntie literally fought for me until I got out of that journey.
I know what it is to have and to be without. Cast aside and left for dead. Not